Did you know that oral sex was illegal in the 70s? No, right? In today's video, we'll be covering weird things that were illegal in the 1970s. So strap in for a silly ride of weird laws. You'll be wheezing by the end of the video. Well, there's a long list of things that were illegal in the 70s, but we'll start with the spiciest one: cheating. That's right, it was illegal in the 70s. You could go to jail for cheating on your partner. We need to bring this one back. Weirdly enough, Coors beer was illegal in some parts of the United States. It was the premise of the movie Smokey and the Bandit. You could even get a ticket for driving with a loud exhaust. Yep, no money for a muffler, but you gotta pay the ticket. Jaywalking would result in getting dragged away by the police, and cussing in public would get you arrested. No curse words allowed in the 70s. It was an age of gentlemen. Cocaine was legal, but cussing certainly was not. In Texas, there were blue laws where certain products couldn't be purchased on Sundays. Silly, right? You could buy baby formula, but not a bottle or anything that wasn't food. They would tape off the aisles in the grocery store. If that isn't weird, I don't know what is.
There's a law in the state of Kentucky that says one cannot carry an ice cream cone in one's back pocket.
In the state of Kentucky, it was illegal to carry ice cream in your back pocket, especially on Sundays. I mean, who even does that? Were they worried about rogue ice cream bandits tempting horses with their frozen treats? But it doesn't stop there. Let's move across the ocean to merry old England, where it was illegal to handle salmon suspiciously. Yes, you heard right. The Salmon Act of 1986 made it an offense to hold a salmon under suspicious circumstances. Guess they really didn't trust you fishy folks. Next up, we have some wild animal laws that will have you questioning the sanity of lawmakers. These laws are so nutty, they'd even make Dr. Dolittle do a double take. In Colorado, it was illegal to ride a horse while under the influence. That's right, it wasn't just your car keys you had to hand over after a few too many drinks, but your stirrups too. Think of all those horses getting pulled over and given breathalyzer tests. And in Oklahoma, you weren't allowed to wrestle a bear. Apparently, this was an actual pastime. Who knew Oklahoma had so many aspiring bear wrestlers? Now let's take a look at some of the household laws that will have you laughing out loud and shaking your head in disbelief. In Australia, it was forbidden to vacuum your house between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Sorry, night owls, no late-night cleaning frenzies for you. Over in Switzerland, it was illegal to flush the toilet after 10 p.m. in an apartment building. Imagine the awkward conversations with your neighbors. Taking a trip back to the USA, let's see some travel-related laws that were out of this world. And I'm not talking about space travel. In Connecticut, a pickle had to bounce to be legally considered a pickle. That's right, if it didn't bounce, it was just a sad cucumber. I guess pickle quality control was taken very seriously. And in Tennessee, it was illegal to drive a car while sleeping. Yes, you heard that correctly. Do I even need to explain why? Finally, let's wrap things up with some workplace laws that will make you grateful for your modern-day office environment. In the UK, it was illegal to attend school if you had the plague. Seems pretty obvious, right? But did they really need a law for this? And in France, it was illegal for women to wear pants. Yes, you heard right. This law was technically still in effect until 2013. Can you imagine the fashion police patrolling the streets? Back in the 70s, some of the laws on the books were so outlandish, they sound made up. But trust me, these were the real deal. In California, it was illegal for women to drive a car while wearing a house coat. That's right, fashion police on patrol. It's hard to imagine the logic behind some of these rules, but they sure make for a good laugh now. And in Vermont, it was illegal to whistle underwater. I can't even fathom why this law was considered necessary. Maybe they were worried about synchronized swimming performances getting out of hand? But let's be real, can anyone actually whistle underwater? Over in Texas, you needed to tread carefully around your livestock. There was a law that prohibited the shooting of a buffalo from the second story of a hotel. First floor, sure, go ahead. Second floor, absolutely not. Maybe they were just trying to preserve the charm of their Wild West hotels. Have you ever heard of a law so specific it could only come from Ohio? In the 70s, it was illegal to get a fish drunk. I mean, who's out there giving fish alcohol? But apparently, lawmakers felt it was an issue that needed addressing. Moving to another part of the world, in Scotland, it was required that a person allowing someone to use their toilet must ask their permission to flush. Imagine having to ask, "May I flush?" after every visit. Awkward much? And let's not forget Florida, where it was illegal to sing in public while wearing a swimsuit. The beach parties must have been pretty quiet with everyone humming instead of singing along to the radio. Back in New York, a law stated that it was illegal to throw a ball at someone's head for fun. While good intentions were likely behind this one, protecting people from injuries, it's amusing to think of it as a hard and fast rule. In the land of cheese, Wisconsin, it was against the law to serve apple pie in public restaurants without cheese. Apparently, they took their pie traditions very seriously. In Connecticut, you were not allowed to educate dogs. This law just seems bizarre. Were they worried about dogs getting too smart and staging a rebellion? We may never know. Oregon had a quirky rule. Dishes must drip dry. No towel drying allowed. This must have been great news for lazy dishwashers, but not so much for those who wanted their kitchen duties finished quickly. It was a strange time in Minnesota where it was illegal to sleep naked. Imagine the police knocking on your door to enforce that one. That's a level of privacy invasion that's hard to comprehend. In Maryland, a law existed which banned lions from attending the theater. Clearly, this was a matter of great concern in Maryland. It's hard to imagine lions regularly lining up for a show. Meanwhile, in Indiana, black cats were required to wear bells on Friday the 13th. Superstition was taken very seriously there, and they had the laws to prove it. The 70s were full of these oddities and anomalies, and they remind us of a time when life and the law seemed just a bit wackier. Whether these laws were a reflection of societal fears, local issues, or just plain oddball thinking, they give us a hilarious snapshot of the past. As we look back at these laws, it's fun to see how much society has changed and how much it hasn't. Some of these laws may seem absurd today, but they were real issues for the people living through that time. And who knows, maybe in another 50 years, people will look back at some of our current laws and have a good chuckle too. So what's the takeaway from this trip down legal memory lane? If anything, it's that human creativity knows no bounds, especially when it comes to creating laws. And while we can laugh at these silly regulations now, it's also a reminder that the world is constantly evolving. The norms and standards of today might be the punchlines of tomorrow.